Hello and welcome back to the Palais Sports Salamatu Maiga in Bamako, Mali. It's quarterfinal day in the FIBA Women's AfroBasket. And this game, Nigeria against the Ivory Coast. Nigeria had a end of the group stage. Terrific game. They beat Senegal, the defending champions, their arch rivals. There, what we've seen already today, we've seen the semi-final classification round. Terrific performance by Guinea. They beat Tunisia by 4. Tunisia suffering again today after suffering a double overtime loss against one of the teams here in the quarterfinals, against the Ivory Coast indeed. The Ivory Coast were a fingertip away from being eliminated and not making the quarterfinals. That game went to double overtime against Tunisia. Tunisia won the game by 5, but they had to win in normal time by 10 to make the quarterfinals. And the Ivory Coast, they hung on. We had a terrific game in game 6 of day 5 of the regular season, if you can call it that, the group stages. And a lot of people stayed after the Mali game to watch that terrific game, Nigeria against Senegal, and they were rewarded with an absolute classic. I'm Roy Birch, and with me is former Czech international guard Teresa Brantlova. Teresa, we should have a humdinger on our hands.
Absolutely, this is gonna be exciting game. Ivory Coast has been through double overtime yesterday, so that could be a bit disadvantage, physical disadvantage for them against Nigeria. They have already reached their goal, what they have set it up for themselves previous this championship. It was make a last 8. And they have already reached that. I think they have nothing to lose. They know they can only surprise against Nigeria. Nigeria is getting better by every game, and I'm really looking forward to see what they have ready for us today.
So, as ever, we stand to respect the national anthems. So Nigeria against the Ivory Coast. I remember that. Nigeria lost in the semi-final 2 years ago to the then host nation Cameroon, 70-71. denied a place in that final. Ivory Coast, they weren't here 2 years ago, or weren't in the tournament 2 years ago. So both teams looking to go a lot better than in recent history. Three officials. We have one Canadian, one Angolan, and one from the Democratic Republic of Congo. A lot of respect on their shoulders today, but we've had superb refereeing for many of the games here in Bamako. Let's hope we don't get too many problems with the electrics. We've had a few power failures so far, but I'm sure we won't get any failings in power from these two superb African teams, Nigeria and the Ivory Coast. There's coach Simon Guillot. Really did have his work cut out in making the quarterfinals. On more than one occasion, the Ivory Coast looked to be getting very close to that 10-point deficit against Tunisia. On more than one occasion, it reached 7. I don't think it got more than 7, but it was very, very close. We've got a quick glimpse there of the coach of Nigeria, Sam Vincent, former NBA player, and to his credit, his team have improved with every game.
I can only agree, though. I said the first game of Nigeria that they hasn't really convinced me to go and have those ambitions to grab the title. But every game they're getting better and better. And really credit to Sam Vincent, coach. He's using his tactic against every team. He's matching his tactic depending on the opponents they play that day. And it's just a pleasure to watch them to improve like that.
They're the starting five of the Ivory Coast. What a game yesterday, or rather against Tunisia. Number 10, Connie Kouyaté. It was, she was so hot that they just decided to give her the ball all the time. Had it not been for her 24 points, well, they wouldn't be in this quarterfinal now. Make it 26 points. We've identified two players.
Yeah, we have identified Mamiki Sisso from Ivory Coast and Antonin Ningifa. Ningifa has done a tremendous job yesterday against Senegal. She has just completely taken off Astou Traoré with her defense, and we picked these two players as a good matchup because both are great defenders, both are athletic and tall enough to guard the best players of the opponents. For Nigeria, we could mention Evelyn Akatur, a really young talent of Nigeria. On the other hand, as you already mentioned, the younger sister, Kani Koyate, she had just a crazy game, scoring, averaging double-double in that game for 26 points, 14 rebounds and 5 assists. Great individual performance. So there are great matchups in this game, and it will be really interesting to see this knockout stage of these two teams.
Tony Yingifa, number 21 for Nigeria, did a superb job in that game against Senegal. Mitigating circumstances, Senegal, of course, Turi Traoré, leading scorer for Senegal until that game, picked up what we think is a head injury, and when she went out, Nigeria saw blood, really, figuratively speaking, of course, and went for the jugular and beat the defending champions. That's why they topped the group. We saw a somewhat relieved and extremely philosophical Simon Guillot, the Frenchman in charge of the Ivory Coast. When you win a game, when you lose a game in double overtime and still qualify, you may think fortune is shining upon you. Fourth is the best that the Ivory Coast have ever been, and Nigeria will still be out to avenge the 1-point loss in the semi-final 2 years ago against Cameroon. They did, however, beat Angola for the bronze medal, 65-55, after an unbelievable defensive effort in the fourth quarter, restricting Angola to no points. There's 13, Kariata Diaby, great basketball intelligence. And they will need her at both ends of the floor. Senior citizen in the team, in the lineup anyway, and she directs the play for the Ivory Coast. There's Kouyaté. If she can have another game like she had in the group stage against Tunisia, then Ivory Coast will be well on the way. But Nigeria, forewarned is forearmed. Well, in the early stages of the day, it's never packed here at the Salamatu Maiga Arena. Crowds normally drift in halfway through game 4 for game 5, which obviously involves Mali. It'll be the same here. So it's Nigeria in green and the Ivory Coast in white. First quarter-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017.
Straight away we see a zone defense from Ivory Coast, trying to fill that space inside.
Good defense from the Ivory Coast. They forced the shot. And I wouldn't say Nigeria forced that shot from Diaby, but he missed by a long way.
We've seen Henrietta Diaby take this shot a couple times already, so we can't say that it has been unprepared or anything. She was wide open. She has been taking this shot every game.
Now that is very patient play, waiting for the cutting player, and Nigeria get us going first of all, and some full court pressure as well. And the turnover. That was what the press was trying to encourage.
I wonder if Coach Gilu has scouted Nigeria really well, because Evelyn Akatur is not a long-distance shooter, not even a mid-range shooter. She really looks for her penetration and time her cut through that zone.
And the rebound drops conveniently into the hands of Diaby. Well, at the moment, Ivory Coast can't buy a bucket. They need to get the rebound through Fofana. Oh, that's great play. Well, I was about to say that poor shot, though, finding the open player against the zone. We have a 3-on-2. Hesitation dribble. And regroup in the half court. Diaby. This is terrific defense from Nigeria. But sadly, with 4 seconds on the shot, sadly for Nigeria anyway, Diaby penetrates and she is fouled. And the foul, Kouyaté.
You could see that Ningifa has been hesitating. Should I go help for that penetration or not? She has been correctly on the split line, but it's just required one further step to make to cover this penetration, so Akatur didn't have to really commit that foul.
So Henrietta Diaby gets the scoreboard moving for the Ivory Coast. With 2 from 2.
Gifa didn't take that shot now because she has missed 2 shots previously and she didn't feel confident enough.
Shot clock on 3. And they get the offensive rebound and they're fouled. Well, the Ivory Coast almost did everything right there, but they didn't get the defensive rebound. Sam Vincent looks on. Evelyn Akatar.
And we know Evelyn Akatar grabbed 13 rebounds in that yesterday's games against Senegal. And I'm pretty sure that Coach Gilu has mentioned box Akatar out because she's the main rebounder of the team.
Oh, almost a steal. Low scoring so far in this crucial quarter-final. Of course, they're all crucial. Knockout stage now, not the group stage. You can just about afford to lose in the group stage. You can't afford to lose now. No way through. Good defense, Fofana. And the steal. Diaby, well read. Oh, that's great hands. Wonderful hands indeed.
Yeah, Kalu has read that really well. That the quick break led by Diaby. She's not so used to create on the court. She's more the finisher for the team of Ivory Coast. Great read from Kalu.
Kalu adamant there was a deflection. Referee didn't see one. There wasn't one. Oh, great steal then. Defense rules both ends of the floor. On the turnaround. Again, good defense, and the rebound is Diaby. And there was some attitude in that outlet pass as well, and that's a travel fake with both feet.
Mind quicker than feet. I think Fofana does a great job in that defense of the zone. She's every time the help for that penetration through that baseline. Great defense.
Short range jumper gives Nigeria a 3-point lead. And it's Didi Madu. Again, the mistake from the Ivory Coast. Little fake. Not the best choice on the end of the break. We have a 4-on-2 the other way now. And the foul, that's a well-drawn foul. Didi Madu, her foul. Easily recognisable with those Kareem Abdul-Jabbar specs on. Oh, the simplest of out of bounds, but well read by the defense. Ingifa saw it coming. Coach Vincent, perhaps upset at such an easy out of bounds, but his team recovered. No rebounders there for the Ivory Coast. The zone still working very hard. Well, not hard enough apparently. 2 points there. Didi Madu.
Yeah, the most dangerous spot in a zone defense is the middle, because then the players has choices, loads of choices to create.
Well, nice floating jump shot, if you can call that a jump shot. Keeps Ivory Coast within 3. Nigeria spraying the ball around. Good hands from Diaby.
Nigeria is scoring 40 of their points every game, averaging from the paint. So you see, they are not the best three-point shooters at this tournament, and that's why I think Ivory Coast as well is sitting in that zone defense, because they can risk some long-distance shot from Nigeria. Their main purpose is to fill the space inside, so they allow Nigeria to score as many points.
Madu goes out. There are 4 on the shot clock. Oh my word! 1 second on the shot clock, and the 3 is from Yadora Olonu.
Yeah, I just said they are not the best three-point shooters, and that's what happens.
And then they allow an easy score at the other end. Perhaps congratulating themselves on taking a 5-point lead, which is immediately reduced to 3. Another 3. And it offensive rebound. Well, that shot was blocked momentarily, but not hard enough. The lead back to 5 for Nigeria. Our graphic will change in a moment now. It is 6-11. Nigeria in a man-to-man, and they're making the Ivory Coast work extremely hard. So Diaby will go back to the foul line. She's 2 from 2 there this afternoon. The foul is against Nigeria's Aisha Mohammed. Kariata Diaby. Smooth. Three from three so far. And she's now 3 from 4. Quarterfinal being played at an intense pace. That is super ball distribution by Nigeria as Upe Atoshu buries the 3. That was very, very patient play from Nigeria. Diaby inside, she's fouled, and not for the first time tonight. My apologies, this afternoon.
Yeah, we see that Kariata Diaby is really playing great at post-up move, and I think Nigerian player has to make sure that they go in front of her more than just wait behind her, though she receives the ball.
Yeah, Diaby's drawn 3 fouls so far, and that is the 4th team foul against Nigeria, compared to 1. Oh, the simple out of bounds, and it is wasted. Well, Coach Sam Vincent certainly got Nigeria organised very well on an out-of-bounds situation. Offensive rebound again, but not this time. Well, the ball is knocked out of bounds, and somehow the Ivory Coast come up with possession. Still up-the-floor defense from Nigeria.
We see pressure now from Nigeria, trying to force Ivory Coast to force mistakes.
Now is not the time to foul, Nigeria. You're in the penalty. Oh, great left-handed shot from Diaby. That's wonderful footwork as well. She's keeping the Ivory Coast in the game. 9-14. Ivory Coast still in this zone. And they're going to have to come out of it pretty soon, because that great 3-pointer from Akeshili. The lead stretches to 8.
Yeah, we see Evelyn Akatur sitting on the bench now, so Nigeria know that I have to be a threat, even from that long distance.
Oh, this is tough defense from Nigeria, and the shot is blocked. Possession. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Possession to the Ivory Coast. There's that shot block. End line ball. Ivory Coast. 6 on the shot clock. They've just defended out of bounds plays twice. Diaby for 3. That is terrific defense from Nigeria. And we have a timeout called by Ivory Coast coach Simon Guelu. 2.5 minutes to go, first quarter, and Nigeria leading by 8. Wanting to get back into the semi-final, having been in the semi-final 2 years ago. Here's Coach Guelu.
Là, tu es là, tu es là. T'as pas besoin de revenir au poste quand la grande est montée avec. Reste, peut-être pas là, mais t'es au moins là. Ok? Quand même, on t'a pas besoin de revenir là, elle y est. Il y a quelqu'un qui y est. C'était Blandine à l'occasion. D'accord? On doit pas s'expliquer.
We can dig until they make a couple threes. We can dig and get back out. Okay? We'll dig a little bit, make a hard close out. Okay? Good energy, ladies. Good energy. Let's see if we can't keep that trap on. See if we can't get it still. You're up on the 4. Okay, you're up on the 4. You're almost running back. Hey, if they stay in zone.
Well, good energy, ladies. That's what Sam Vincent said. Let's keep this trap on. My apologies. I didn't really catch what Coach Simon Guelu said. My French is not good at the best of times, especially when they're speaking quickly.
I'm pretty sure we will see on the court what Coach Simon Guelu has instructed to his team. And we see a man-to-man defense now. That's a change, because obviously if you get a quick three-point shots against the zone, you want to go back to man-to-man defense to contest, to have the closest space to contest these shots.
Well, that was almost wonderful defense, particularly from Kani Kiyate, but a teammate stepped in and reached. And that teammate, Ngoran, Blandine Ngoran, on the foul line. It's Upe Atozu. The lead stretches to 9. And the offensive rebound isn't quite gathered in. Good boards though from Udiaja. Still the press up the floor, just as Coach Vincent ordered. Don't reach. Well, they've reached, and that's pretty much a gift for the Ivory Coast. They may get 2 points here that they didn't earn because they're on the foul line.
Credit to Korea Diaby that she has taken that responsibility to bring the ball to the offensive half. It's just an incredible performance so far from this player.
But she fails to make the most of the gift that was offered. Twofold. So Nigeria get away with a foul. The Ivory Coast bench appealed for a travel there. No way. It's just a two-step layup. Remember the foul situation, Ivory Coast. Well, they forget all about it. No foul there. Remember, Ivory Coast have just had a timeout, and that is a foul against the Ivory Coast this time.
It's been a great transition offense from Nigeria, grabbing that quick offensive rebound, defensive rebound, and run for a quick break.
Fofana coming back in for the Ivory Coast, and she's giving Kariata Diaby a well-earned break. Nigeria want to make a sub as well. Coming back in is Ezin Kalu. To repeat what Coach Sam Vincent said in the timeout, good energy, ladies, and that's exactly what is on display at the moment at both ends of the floor.
Again, we see a full good man-to-man right now with our trap.
Yeah, it's a great steal. Well, the missed layup and the follow-up foul, let's call it.
Yeah, now Okoye hasn't really read that situation and that move of Divara.
Cecilia Okoye there, completely accidental, but rather a clumsy foul, let's say. Seven for the Ivory Coast. Fatima Diawara. Well, that's quite a tired free throw, really. And she's only just come on the floor. Two shots, well short. It's a rare open miss for Nigeria. Almost the tie-up as well. Now the Ivory Coast can't get an open shot away. That's not an open shot, but it goes in.
Yep, Goran, a long shot. That's been a brave shot from her.
I think Coach Vincent will take that. There was a lot of pressure on the shot. It happened to go in, but there was some energy on the defense. Oh, goodness me. Nigeria are shooting the lights out from the arc. 23-11, they lead. 7-second differential between game and shot clock. Nigeria forcing bad shots from the Ivory Coast. The shot clock being turned off. Oh, well, she thought she got a layup, but she hadn't taken the ball with her. And the Ivory Coast gets something at the end of the first quarter. 3 seconds, Well, a scintillating first quarter dominated by Nigeria. They're leading the Ivory Coast 23-13.
Again, we see Nigeria sticking to their game plan. Play aggressive defense, force the opponent to make a turnovers and run a quick breaks.
Well, Coach Sam. End of the first quarter, and it's Ivory Coast 13, Nigeria 23 in this first quarter final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. At the end of that first quarter, there was a collision, and a Nigerian player left on the floor, and Sam Vincent glaring at the officials. But Nigeria dominated that first quarter. Along two there from Ingifa. And the defense has been dominant from Nigeria. Yeah, 23. Kalu looking, well, she thought she got a deflection. If you're watching highlights of that first quarter, most of them belong to Nigeria. Roy Birch and Teresa Brantlova. Teresa, what can the Ivory Coast do to get themselves back into this game, trailing in double figures already?
Yeah, they definitely have to play smart against that pressure and that aggression in defense of Nigerian team. They also have to a bit more organized. I would say not rushing their offenses and not turning balls over. But plus, if they would put the Fukur man-to-man offense, that could give them another energy raise to maybe be the same competitive in that term of aggressivity with Nigerian team.
Fafana inside, shoots short. Great hands again from Nigeria. Well, that's an unforced error. That won't please Coach Vincent. Teresa, where is the full court man-to-man from the Ivory Coast that we saw when they played Cameroon in that three-point win?
Exactly, and I think they kind of, it's like lack of confidence in that man-to-man defense, because Nigeria is athletic team, but they still can match them up pretty well in that full court man-to-man. So hopefully we will see it from Ivory Coast team.
3 open threes in that first quarter from Nigeria. And another open 2 for them.
Yeah, this is too easy. I don't see any pressure from Ivory Coast team, and that's why they are down by 12 points so far.
They can play tough defense. We saw it against Cameroon. They won that one by 3. But it's nothing like the defense we saw against Cameroon here against Nigeria. And there is a sloppy foul, 80 feet from the hoop by Diawara.
Yeah, and also now in that penetration, we've seen 2 big players just walking at the half court instead of just running and rush to grab that offensive rebound or cover this missed layup. So I'm missing a bit of heart in there from Ivory Coast team.
All the energy being displayed by Nigeria, as insisted upon by Coach Vincent. Now some energy from the Ivory Coast, but look at the defense. Well, better a foul, one supposes, than an open layup. The foul there, Akator.
Yeah, you're right, but that's Akator second. Okay, I mislooked. I thought it's her third foul, but instead it's only a second now, so she just needs to manage now her personal fouls.
Nigeria 7 fouls compared to 4, but all of those fouls have been productive, if that's the right word. Now Ivory Coast make use of the shot clock, which they fail to do. Stifling defense from Nigeria. Immediately a layup from that good defense.
And there has been a great screen from Madu to allow the defensive player to cover Kalu into the layup.
Oh, and another missed layup. It's all very well going coast to coast, but you got to score. And now Nigeria can afford to take their time on offense. The Ivory Coast defense is less than active at the moment. 3 on the shot clock, clearly heard the Nigerian bench talking. And they're going to get a held ball and possession to Nigeria.
I'm not sure now. We've heard that loud counting from a bench of those seconds, but I almost freezed the Ivory Coast defense instead of a Nigerian offense. Great play from Nigeria.
You often hear a bench counting down the shot clock, and it often instills some panic in the team that's got the ball.
Exactly, and that was surprising to see that Ivory Coast has freezed more out of that counting.
Well, they've hit 2 jump shots from that same spot, and again it's Didi Madu. She likes that spot on the floor. And Nigeria can afford to take a little break on defense now. They've got a huge lead, but they don't take a break, they take a steal. That's possession, Nigeria. Fofana, not for the first time this tournament. A little complaint to the official, perhaps.
So again, we see back zone defense from Ivory Coast, trying to change the rhythm of the game a bit.
Same distance from the hoop, same result.
Yeah, but even if you play zone defense, you have to contest the shot. You can't just stay 1 meter away from the shooter.
Well, a turnover forced by the Nigerian defense, and it wasn't even the most active defense. Timeout, Ivory Coast, their second timeout in the first half. They're trailing 13-31, and still the best part of 7 minutes to go. They have no timeouts left in this first half.
Il joue avec des positions, la fille elle est là ou la fille elle est là. Le ballon circule. Quand on vient chercher la balle, quel que soit l'endroit où on va chercher la balle, il y a toujours une joueuse qui est seule. Quand on se met normalement c'est zone. Il n'y a pas la passe, elle ne peut pas arriver. Si vous avez bien fait votre travail et vous avez coordonné, cette fille-là, elle n'est pas toute seule, elle n'a pas 2 mètres d'avance. Ok? On fait
There, one time, let's see if we can't run a punch. All right? Let's see if we can't punch. Let's see if we can't punch a door. Okay? Let's see if we can't punch a door. That's going to put a tone.
Well, we're watching highlights of the first quarter final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017, and most of the highlights in this first quarter final belong to Nigeria. I just heard Coach Sam Vincent of Nigeria say, well, let's try and run a punch. I'm not sure. That's obviously a play. I don't think it's anything nasty. And by contrast, we heard Coach Simon Goulart there. He's got a double teapot stance on the bench now, very frustrated. He's called his second timeout. He really had to call it. Basically, his players needed a rest both physically and psychologically. They are getting pounded.
Yeah, it almost seems that they worry more about that score than about their own game. They see being down by 28 points. But, you know, you have to stop worrying about the score as much. You have to know that you have left everything on the court you can, and it doesn't seem like so far from Ivory Coast.
And Nigeria very nearly get an offensive rebound with the player sitting on her backside. Great hustle from Ezine Kalou, and the press is still on. Nigeria going for the juggler, and they get it. A great steal. That's wonderful pressure, and Tony Yingisa there, the easy 2, all coming from the press, and it's still on. And forcing the short shot as well. This is a great example of psychological and physical pressure from Nigeria. Uh-oh, same spot on the floor. Not quite the same result though. Fofana the rebound. Well, we've seen Angola come back in the group stage against Mali from a big deficit in the first half. Oh my word, if you dribble and offer the ball there, this is an easy layup for Nigeria. It's a 20-point lead already.
Yeah, in this case, her teammates needs to tell her, look, there's a help from back, so she can just turn and pass the ball to the open player. That's completely like a time off from Ivory Coast.
Well, the defense has eased off a little, but not much. That's an angry foul. Well, there's the foul on the break. And it's a two-shot foul. There's a buzz around the Salamatu Maiga Arena here in Bamako in Mali, because they're witnessing a very clinical performance from Nigeria. Here's Nigeria's number 22, no problem with the first one, Ezini Kalu. And Coach Sam Vincent of Nigeria has the luxury of being able to just feed players in, and the work rate continues. The press still on.
There are spots you want to avoid when you play against the pressure like this. Those are the corners, any corners, and right behind you cross the half court to pick up the dribble. Those are the most critical spots you don't want to get against the pressure. And I think Ivory Coast is just looking to get into this spot, and that leads into the unforced errors.
There's the shot clock violation. There is a slight delay between the table's 24-second sound and our graphic there, but the referee got it dead right there. It's just a 1 second delay. So when he reads 1, the 24 seconds has gone. It's such a comfortable lead now for Nigeria. They can afford to spray the ball around and hit threes.
Yeah, they play with a big confidence, because anyone who goes on the three-point line and shoot that ball is just full of confidence.
Well, a rare score there for the Ivory Coast, but boy, did they have to work hard to get even a contested shot away. We're at the stage where every Nigerian player on the perimeter is demanding the ball. They've almost certainly got an open shot, because the Ivory Coast defense is absolutely exhausted. Coyote into Fafana. Fafana is stripped. That's great trailing play and a great shot block as well from Kani Kiyate.
You could see that Ezini Kalu has stretched the floor with that ball, because he knew there's only one defender ahead of two players. So that has been a great decision from her to create some space and force the defender to make a decision who they're going to guard.
Under 4 to go, first half. 25 points the lead for Nigeria in this first quarter final. Well, a rare example there of something of a forced pass. One can forgive Nigeria in such a great offensive and defensive performance so far, that is. Out of bounds, simple pass, and missed by a long way. Now that is Nigeria possession. Well, I've used one word to describe this against the Ivory Coast. They've been pounded, they've been battered as well. Nicely. Easy pass. Well, Nigeria can set up anywhere they like now and receive the ball. Shot clock on 3. And this time Ivory Coast get the rebound. And this time they pass their ball through the press, and the Eldam Kiyate sister takes it to the hoop and has her shot blocked. And she's saying, "I didn't touch it, ref." And she's probably right.
Yeah, she's probably right, but she seems to be a bit isolated now in the effort of even attack the basket. So her teammate has to support her and start to move a bit and find that lost confidence.
Oh. Another 3
It's hard
for
to
Nigeria.
Yeah, it's hard to find a confidence when any player who decides to shoot a long distance shot from Nigeria is making it.
Okoki there with the foul, but that's only the third team foul against Nigeria. Well, Coach Quillo there, we got a quick shot of him and his face spoke volumes. How do I get out of this?
And again, quick offensive rebounds and attempt to run a quick break.
There's a certain hunger about Nigeria, but there's a wasted opportunity, a rare bad pass, that time from Atozo. The Nigerian defense is forcing off-balance shots from the Ivory Coast.
Yeah, it doesn't have any system right now. Whoever gets the ball is trying to find a position for themselves. There's no cooperation in Ivory Coast offense.
Well, Ivory Coast, Mariama Kouyaté there, can't believe the foul has just been called against her. It was a good tussle inside. Perhaps a no call would have been more appropriate, or more to the Ivory Coast liking. Another open three, same results.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the Ivory Coast players are not even mad or anything. You know, if I'm a player and we get hit every time from 3-point line, I would just shout at my teammates, let's go play contest, try to force the players to put the ball down so they have to penetrate, because there's more of us to cover that penetration than just to contest that 3-point shot.
But what is more surprising, Teresa, is the fact we know that the Ivory Coast can play really tough, aggressive, full-court, man-to-man defense. They did it against Cameroon. And here, they just look like a team that is shell-shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's to me a bit disappointing, because this is the game you play for everything at this championship you're coming with. You want to go to Spain next year, or at least I would assume that they want to go to Spain. And Nigeria has been playable for them opponent into the quarterfinals. But since beginning of the game, we see that Nigeria has set the rhythm of the game. Absolutely, they hear like, no, we're going to battle for that chance to go to Spain.
Good defense there from the Ivory Coast. I've not had to say that too many times. Kouyaté misses the open shot.
Missing any intention to go and grab any rebound from Ivory Coast. It seems it's hard to play when you have only one chance for your offense. Time to time you need some offensive rebound to get reset and again, you know, gain that confidence by the second chance.
Nigeria haven't missed too many threes. Akashili missed one there. And it's still Ivory Coast under all kinds of pressure to even get a look at the hoop, let alone an open shot. Derby is fouled. Well, no, she travelled.
I would resume this performance from Ivory Coast. The game so far is just happening to them. That's it. But to do and change that status, I don't see any really effort right now to do so.
Diaby there looking for the foul, but she had taken too many steps. Ticking down to the last minute of the first half of this first quarter final. And it's been all Nigeria. Oh, it's a lovely fake. And the foul. 14 for Nigeria. Had her wrists clipped at Udeja.
It's been a nice unselfish play from Sarah Ogoki. She knew that the defense gonna jump on her fake, and she just opened up her teammate Udeja.
Kioma Odieja. Well, when you're leading by 30-odd points, you can afford to take a very cool approach to a foul shot. There used to be a 5-second call in the game. Perhaps not nowadays. But 1 from 2. And still the Ivory Coast run into trouble, even getting the ball over the halfway line. Kouyaté. A floating shot. And here go Nigeria again on the break. 2-on-1. And the foul, almost inevitably the foul by Diaby. She looks disappointed, but she had no choice. Yeah, just moving forwards, got her hands up in the air, but it was forward momentum, appealing to her teammate there. For what? I can only speculate.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she's not too happy because, to be honest, she hasn't received really much ball down in her position, what she's used to playing, backside to the rim. All the offense of Ivory Coast so far is that whoever gets the ball will try to create something for themselves, but they don't really read the defense because Nigeria plays a great rotation defensively into that penetration.
Cecilia Okoye there misses both foul shots, but then puts the press back on. Trapped on the halfway line. If she steps on that halfway line, well, she scrambled her way out of the trap, but then walked into the jaws of death almost.
Exactly, I already mentioned it. Where are those spots you don't want to get yourself against pressing? And that corner right when you cross the half court, that's one of the most critical ones. And where we have found Kani Koyate right now, right there.
3.5 seconds to go in the first half. Can Ivory Coast at least get a shot away? Well, the answer is no. So it's a 31-point lead at halftime. Nigeria overwhelming the Ivory Coast in this first quarter-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. Nigeria on their way to the semi-final unless they have an almighty collapse. Remember, they were in the semi-final 2 years ago when they lost 70-71 to Cameroon.
It would have to be a complete reset at the changing rooms right now in the halftime, because to be honest, Nigeria plays a great team game, I would say. There's Evelyn Akatur, but she has been sitting really, I would say, almost whole quarter on the bench if you count both quarters together. And the rest of the players still competing really well, and great team effort defensively and offensively from Nigeria.
Well, your commentators are only human, and one could forgive us for thinking that this might be a close game, but Sam Vincent, coach to Nigeria, thought otherwise. There are the stats. Nigeria just about have the edge on rebounds, but sadly for Ivory Coast, they have the edge, a definite edge in turnovers, and 10 steals to 4 in favour of Nigeria. And that has resulted, as we watch highlights of the first half, many of them belonging to Nigeria, those statistics, particularly the steals and the turnovers, have resulted in this scoreline: 46 to Nigeria, 15 to the Ivory Coast. Hello again from Bamako in Mali. We're at half-time in the first quarter-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. And I don't think we have a surprise on our hands, but we certainly have a distorted result, let's say, or sorry, distorted scoreline, let's say. Listen to this. When you get to the last 8 of a tournament, then you're quite justified in expecting tight games. But Nigeria 46, Ivory Coast 15. That is amazing. And the last part of that scoreline, 23-2 is the scoreline in the second quarter. That is astonishing. It's all about full court pressure from Nigeria, and sadly for the Ivory Coast, the inability to handle that pressure. I'm Roy Birch, and with me is Teresa Brantlova, former Czech Republic guard. Teresa, were you ever under the kind of pressure that the Ivory Coast are under today when you play for the national team?
I would say yes, we've been. But the way to play against the pressure is to be smart. You don't want to try to compete in the physicality of that pressure. You're trying to overplay that smart way, which means you have to know exactly the space which you want to go through against that pressure. You don't want to lock yourself by the sidelines when you take effort straight away one direction to go and overcome that offense. Also, you don't really want to kill it or beat it by dribbling. You want to beat that intensive pressure by a quick passes, by a quick flashes into the spaces, and that would help your team to calm down a little bit and be settled to organize the offense. But what we see is that the Ivory Coast struggles with that huge pressure of Nigeria team, and instead of when they finally get on their offensive half, they rush their offense instead of just calm down, organize their offense, and finally get back to their game. So it's an extreme step up from Nigeria team, and what I love is that every single player who gets on the court from Nigeria is performing in today's game.
Well, in the first half of the first quarter, the score was 9-6 to Nigeria. End of the first quarter is 23-13, but then that 23-2 surge in the second quarter really has sealed, unless we see a collapse of biblical performances or biblical percentages, then Nigeria on their way. And then Ivory Coast come up with a turnover. This, of course, is the game that will decide who plays Mali or Egypt in one of the semi-finals. So a tasty proposition indeed. And the Ivory Coast come up with a rebound. Now what can they do to get themselves back into this game? They need a performance like the one Nigeria had in that second quarter. And putting the ball on your own foot is ill-advised. Well, on the turnaround, they get the better start of the second half.
And we see that Ivory Coast is in man-to-man defense again to try to avoid that long distance shots, because Nigeria has been shooting 50% from that line so far.
And they get the rebound as well. Well, that's very close to the halfway line. Nigeria is still in the man-to-man. The Ivory Coast need a surge of scoring without reply. They need a big quarter. Is this the one? Shot clock on 5. An easy rebound for Nigeria. Good hands. And that is Ivory Coast possession. So something of a sloppy start here for Nigeria. The start of the second half. The lead is now, well, it's 17-46. It's only a 29-point lead. A proud team, though, coached by Simon Gouliot, the Frenchman. Ivory Coast. And the ball goes in to Mariam Kouyaté. And not the best angle, let's say. And not the best defense either. You can't just let a man go past you expecting help.
Yep, that's your own responsibility first to guard your player, and then if you make a mistake, then you should shout for help. But Kariata Diaby has been there quite late on that split line.
End-line ball, Nigeria. I was about to say too easy, but the shot was actually under pressure. It came off the rim, so... Oh, that is a beautiful pass.
That's a beautiful read from Ngifa as well, because she's seen that her defender just overrun her, and she's in front of her. Great read.
Well, the rebound is tapped to an opponent. Too easy, far too easy for Nigeria. So after a quiet 30 seconds, they've exploded again, Nigeria, and they're up by 33 points. And the layup is missed. Not a rebounder in sight for the Ivory Coast. I would hesitate to say that they may be psychologically damaged. And there's a foul on the play. It's against the Ivory Coast. End-line ball, Nigeria.
Are we gonna see another easy pass? Yes, we will.
Easy, too easy.
This is a huge miscommunication between players of Ivory Coast, because it just can't happen when you go out of bounds. The first place you need to protect is the basket, and that's exactly where Nigeria has put the ball.
The words going and jugular come to mind, and they've gone for the throat there as well. Now that's a very heavy foul. We'll call that a frustration foul. Wallop.
And the struggle continues for Ivory Coast.
So they make a few substitutions. So if this continues, and it looks likely that it will, then Ivory Coast will be playing for positions 5, 6, 7 and 8. Atoni Ngifa makes the first.
Let's hope that Nigeria won't outscore them that badly that it's going to be a long-term damage for Ivory Coast, and they still would be able to recover from this tough game for them.
Every pass contested. And the last thing that they want to do is start swinging elbows, the Ivory Coast. The shot is blocked. And here you go Nigeria with the outlet pass.
Madu is not that tall player if we consider that she plays under the basket. She's just so effective in her positioning that it gives her advantage on that rebound.
I was about to say that's an easy shot, but tell Nigeria that, and they will say no way. A very satisfied look on the face of Sam Vincent, coach to Nigeria. Big feather in Big Sam's cap, the first African team, I think, to beat South Korea a few years ago. That takes some doing, and Nigeria on their way to a semi-final by the look of things. On the foul line for the Côte d'Ivoire is Fatima Diawara. Apologies for occasionally lapsing into my very substandard French there. It's the Ivory Coast.
So back to zone defense from Ivory Coast. This time it's a 2-3 zone.
Well, the foul results in a shooting foul. Diaby again talking to a younger teammate, asking or offering some advice. There's the foul.
Yep, and late help from has been from number 11, Amandine Koyako.
Evelyn Akator on the foul line. The agony for the Ivory Coast continues.
Whatever lineup Simon Gelou is trying to put on the court, he just can't find the ideal five in today's game. The desire to win this game.
I think that desire may have gone, the desire to win may have gone, Teresa. The task now is to keep his players physically and psychologically healthy. And they're not going to get healthy if they miss layups. Well, even then, the Nigerian bench wanted a travel call. Oh, actually.
Yep.
Well, Diaby said, what did I do wrong? Let's have a look, see what she did wrong. She stood her ground. Her opponent bounced off her. And the Ivory Coast, to make matters worse, are in the penalty. Diaby goes out to replaced by Fofana. And Diaby strolls off on 3 fouls. Ivory Coast have been in the penalty for quite some time, and 1 foul against Nigeria. It seems an age ago that the Ivory Coast beat Cameroon 57-54 in a defensive classic. Perhaps the effort of imposing that rock-like defense was too much for the Ivory Coast. They've not been the same team since. It's almost score at will from Nigeria. We have a timeout, Ivory Coast. They have a lot to talk about. They're trailing 18-62 in the first quarter-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. It's all Nigeria.
On va continuer à être ridicule. Oh, ah si, on est ridicule. On n'est même pas capable de faire une mise en jeu. Vous êtes toutes les 5 ici. Eh, vous êtes folles ou quoi? Il y en a une qui fait la mise en jeu. La grande, une les rentre, l'autre elle est partie déjà. Vous êtes 5. C'est facile pour eux de nous trapper. C'est remise en jeu ou sur toi, ou sur toi, ou sur... Et puis l'autre ailière, elle est partie aussi. Voilà, et vous avez...
Again, my apologies for my poor French. I can only assume Coach Goulou was urging his players to avoid the traps.
Absolutely, but to avoid trap, you have to flash into the middle of the court, not to the sideline, where you have only one direction to go, because and plus from that direction the defensive player of Nigeria is coming from. So you really have to try and receive the ball somewhere in the middle of the court, not by the sidelines.
So after the Nigerian score, the Ivory Coast timeout is over. They have possession and they still have 1 or 2 traps to avoid. On that occasion they do avoid the trap. But they miss the contested shot.
Yeah, but again we're back to what, when you overcome a pressing, you don't want to rush your offense, especially when you're under the pressure like this. You want to prepare a nice offense which gives you opportunity to score some points.
Well, the Ivory Coast bench now resorting to appealing for contact in every situation, and they're not going to get any sympathy, I'm afraid. The Canadian official goes to the Ivory Coast coach and asks him to calm down, I think. In fact, she's going to Coach Vincent as well, but only to administer a substitution. Nigeria on the foul line in the form of Ezine Kalou. We had one close game today in which the Central African, Guinea, they beat Tunisia by 4 points. We've had another blowout in which the Democratic Republic overwhelmed Central African Republic, and we're on our way, sadly, to a blowout in the quarter-final here, with Nigeria in complete control. There's a foul on the play, and Fofana looking round as if to expect the call to have gone against her. She's wondering, number 14 for Ivory Coast. sorry, number 15 for the Ivory Coast, but the foul called in her favour. And her teammate is on the foul line, and that teammate is Hamadine Kouakou. Two from two for Kouakou. Well, we've seen some great examples of full court man-to-man being the decisive factor in 3 or 4 games here in Bamako. Mali, they are brilliant at exerting such pressure. I thought the Ivory Coast were good as well, but this defense from Nigeria is something else. And now on the end of the break, well, a rare, easy layup, or easy-ish layup for the Ivory Coast. And a smart no foul as well from Nigeria. That's an open player. The defense is late to get there. And a rare turnover by Nigeria. But I have no doubt Coach Sam Vincent is not going to chastise anyone. They've put 100% effort in there, and 1 or 2 players probably need a short break, a short rest. You cannot doubt, you cannot criticise Nigeria for anything other than the effort they put into this. It has been 100%. Energy has been wonderful. And energy again on the defense. A little bit sloppy there, so Coach Vincent may reprimand 1 or 2 players here. They've gone a little bit sloppy for a few seconds, that's all. That's going to miss by a long way, but in the right place at the right time, and then suddenly someone turned the lights out. And eventually the foul called. Well, Fofana is in the referee's face. Sam Vincent, perhaps the perfectionist, wanted the foul to go his way. Very experienced player there, Fofana, Minato Fofana, number 15 for the Ivory Coast. Made sure the referee was aware of the situation there. Fatima Diawara hits the second. We had a list of 7 players who are quite likely to make an impact in this tournament on the FIBA website, and she was one of them. But she's had a quiet tournament so far. But that's a great hand, and sadly the turnover. And Nigeria will punish every turnover.
And we see a zone defense from Ivory Coast, but that's not the zone defense we've seen against Cameroon, because that zone defense had aggressivity, they had aggression, intensity. But in this zone there are no hands, no contested shots, nothing. So I would definitely try again man-to-man. And why Ivory Coast doesn't play full court man-to-man? Because then I'm pretty sure that even Nigeria will commit some unforced errors.
I'm trying to think where we've seen this kind of defense in the tournament before. Oh yes, it's Mali, isn't it? And eventually Nigeria, they just will not quit. The zone is almost chasing shadows. That's an open 3. And not quite the first half performance, or rather the performance you saw in the first half from the 3-point arc from Nigeria. It doesn't matter because they're leading by 43 points.
Yeah, and also doesn't matter because they go anytime they decide to go for offensive rebound, they go and grab it, so they have a second chance in their offense to attack. The really danger in zone, or key in the zone, is to match up the players before you go box out, because otherwise that's going to happen. We've just seen that any player from Nigeria will grab a rebound.
Well, this is the second game that the Ivory Coast have been subjected to this kind of defense against them. First against Mali and now Nigeria. And you have to say they've not really coped physically or emotionally or psychologically. Almost sarcasm there from Mariam Kouyate and from Cisse. Well, we highlighted Mamik Cisse at the top of the program, top of the game, and she's not really had any impact on the game at all. Not been able to. Minute and a half to go in the third, and the lead 41. That'll tick up to 25 any second now.
That has been a great zone defense now, this time from Ivory Coast.
A rare uncontested layup for the Ivory Coast.
Again, we can see that Coach St. Vincent gives a lot of minutes to bench players in today's game. Which could help him in that next stage of this tournament in semi-finals, which most probably we will see them at.
The Ivory Coast get a rare uncontested layup, but then Nigeria get a three at the other end. And a three at last for the Ivory Coast. If it were not so late in the game, I'd say is the comeback on, but we know otherwise. Well, they can't get the ball into the low post, Nigeria.
Yeah, it's the second time we've seen that bad angle for the pass, because Ogoki has been too high and had such bad angle for this low block pass. She needs to take one extra dribble to the side to change the angle for better pass.
Differential of 2 seconds between game and shot clock at the end of the third. On the turnaround, nice move. So 32 plays 69. It's still a 37-point margin.
Oh.
Well,
that's what happens when you're on the top of the horse as a team.
If it's your day, then make the most of it. 32-71 after 3 quarters. Now, who'd be a fly on the wall if the Ivory Coast were in the locker room? They must have come into this game with high hopes. The Ivory Coast, they've scraped through into the quarterfinals. Nigeria had a great win against their arch rivals Senegal on the last day of the group stage, and now Nigeria, well, we must remember that the semi-final draw pits the winners of the Mali-Egypt game against the winners of this game, Nigeria against the Ivory Coast. And the sad fact of the matter is that if it were to be Mali against Nigeria, then one of them will not be going to Spain. I'm sure the other quarter-finalists won't be too worried about that. The other quarterfinals, Mozambique against Angola and Cameroon against Senegal. But in this competition, it is only the winners and the runners-up who make next year's FIBA Basketball World Cup for women in Spain. The bronze medalists, they are playing only for third place. As we watch highlights of the third quarter, a better third quarter for the Ivory Coast, but the damage had all been done in the first half, and in particular the second quarter. 2 points to the Ivory Coast, 23 to Nigeria.
Yeah, it's been a turnout a bit for Ivory Coast offensively, because they have scored 17 points in this quarter compared to 2 in the second quarter. So they forced Nigeria to some missed shots and unforced errors as well, and punished that in the quick breaks.
Well, I was about to say that's a 4 shot, but hang time. And it still went in. And a foul on the floor against Nigeria. Nigeria's number 7, Sarah Ogoki. A little nudge. A well-drawn foul indeed. Look at that double team. The pass receiver double teamed instantly.
Yeah, when you receive the double team, you have to turn your head first to find an open player.
And excellent boxing out from Nigeria. Again, at the risk of repeating myself and my colleague here, Teresa Brantlova, it was a slow start to the competition by Nigeria. They didn't look like medal potential. They do now, though. They have grown in confidence and they've improved every game. Their defense has intensified every game. But there was no defense there, but it almost certainly doesn't matter. Bognini there with the open jump shots. And the foul is a shooting foul, and Nigeria back on the foul line, and it is Aisha Mohammed.
You see a great trap of Aisha Mohammed, but then in the last minute of the last second of that trap, they just stepped away from each other and gave that space for Aisha Mohammed to just go through and find her open teammate.
I would suggest, Aisha, point your elbow at the target. Well, they both went in, so she knows better. I was about to say it's become a little bit of a shootout in the fourth quarter, with the damage all being done by Nigeria in that second quarter. The ball was not deflected despite the protestations from Nigeria. And Coach Simon Goulo's assistant coach trying to inspire some kind of effort in this fourth quarter.
And again, why the hesitation of Irene Bognini? She has been performing well so far in this game, but it seems almost like she got scared of Ogoki Sarah.
Simon Goulot, the coach to Ivory Coast, must have been so optimistic about further progress in this competition when they had that great win against Cameroon, 57-54. Then it all started unravelling, really, in that double overtime loss against Tunisia. They got through to the quarterfinals despite that loss, because there were better points difference in a three-way tie. And again, such is the pressure. Well, pressure back the other way as well now. Good box out. Simple one-on-one situation there in the box out. Nice trailing play, and she ran into and scored. Well, when it's your day, make the most of it.
Yeah, Sarah Ogoki was nicely slowing down that move, waiting for Evelyn Akatu to just come in for that penetration. Great.
And the three-point play is not completed, but the press is back on. Good hustle from the Ivory Coast. The trap is there.
And spin into the trap. Worst movement you can do.
It's not always the trap that makes the score. The trap made the turnover there, and the Nigerian player pounced. A rebound, a flying rebound indeed from Nigeria. The pressure is just relentless. They will not quit, Nigeria. Well, I hope that's not a jammed finger from Kariata Diaby, number 13 of the Ivory Coast. She was looking at her finger and feeling it rather gingerly. But we have a timeout. The second timeout of the second half, called by Coach Simon Goulou.
On est en zone, on est en zone. on retombe dans les mêmes problèmes de rester à 4 dans ce secteur défensif pour faire la mise en jeu. Tout à l'heure, on a aéré le jeu parce qu'on a laissé une intérieure, l'autre intérieure est partie et une ailière est partie. À partir de ce moment-là, il ne reste plus que 2 joueuses pour monter la balle. C'est parfait. Mais ne restez pas à tuer le ballon, à étouffer le ballon. Ok? Allez, c'est parti. Allez, allez.
Well, again, I didn't get the entire gist of that timeout, but I think Coach Guillo was saying we keep returning to the same problem, how to get out of that trap.
Absolutely, and the timeout Coach Guillo has taken previously, it has been a slight improvement in where the players are receiving the ball on the court to avoid that trap. As you just said, it has been a get back to old habits, and that's why Nigeria has put again Ivory Coast under the pressure.
And this time they escape the trap. Well, you can tell the Mali fans are in town or in the arena. The noise has ratcheted it up. And the foul is against Côte d'Ivoire's Côte. Well, when you're playing in a game before Mali and suddenly you hear that noise, you must think, what's happened? Has there been an incident of something?
Absolutely, but they can use that in their favor, pretending that that's the fans cheering for that certain team, so could be advantage.
I was about to say good, honest defense from Nigeria, but eventually someone couldn't resist the temptation of reaching in.
And we know who that was. It was Evelyn Couture.
Kariata Diaby on the foul line, where she spent a lot of the first quarter. When there's so much pressure on in other parts of the floor, and then you get to the foul line, you have every right to feel a little tired. Even your arms, if you've been battered, then it's just a different skill to shoot a foul shot with tired arms. Oh, that is such unselfish play from Nigeria, throwing the ball around, finding the open player.
And that has been a great cut as well from Ubertosu to give her the angle for that pass.
Diaby escaped the trap just about. And the layup refuses to drop. Well, there's 10 percentage points difference in two-point shooting between Nigeria and the Ivory Coast. But I would hesitate to say that that percentage slipped past rather quickly. And yes, 66 shots to Nigeria compared to just 50 by the Ivory Coast. That's because the Ivory Coast have been forced into so many turnovers. And another rebound for Nigeria, and a little bit of a hustle as well from the Ivory Coast. Diaby didn't move her feet. And that's the fourth foul on Kariata Diaby. At least I hope it's the fourth foul. I hope it's not the fifth. No, a red light has not gone up. Again, easy out of bounds play for Nigeria. Halfway through this fourth quarter. But it's almost as if the Ivory Coast have conceded the rebound now. There's no attempt to block that shot. There's no attempt to box out. They are absolutely shattered, the team in white.
And all we can say is just the struggle continues, because to be missing these open shots from right under the rim, that just shows how mentally, psychologically damage all the players of Ivory Coast.
Substitution for the Ivory Coast. Number 15, Minata Fafana coming in, and number 13, Kariata Diaby. Getting a well-earned break.
Yeah, credit to Nigerian team, because they're up by 50 in this game, and their pressure is more increasing than decreasing, and that just shows big quality of this team. Because normally the players would decrease the intensity of the game, but Nigeria has still at least the same level within the whole game, and that's really, really big quality and positive promise for next games.
Turnovers 13 by Nigeria, 22 by Nigeria. It just feels though there's a greater discrepancy than that indeed. Another open shot for Nigeria. We did not have this as a 50-point blowout. So, big question is, what do we know? Well, he knows a lot, Sam Vincent. And he's given his whole team a run out as well, bearing in mind that tomorrow they may be up against Mali. It is either Mali or Egypt in the other quarter-final. I think Mali, the host nation, will go in to that as favourites, possibly more than slight favourites. Nice pass, and well, there was no malice in the foul, but it was, well, actually a result of a great fake. Here's the head fake, and there's the foul. Who hit me?
She can't even believe she had that luggage on her back, if I can call it that way, because that has been a really jump on the back.
I was shooting, you know, ref.
I also really like as in Kalu in today's game. She plays very small, and she just making her teammates better around her. So good credit to that player as well today.
Well, we identified Tony Yingifi as one of the possible game breakers, but she's not needed to be anything in the form of a star player, because the whole Nigerian team has played as a group of star players. As that three-pointer goes in, and another layup is missed, and another rebound is grabbed by Kioma Udieja.
Another foul committed, which sends a Nigerian player on the free throw line.
Well, when the Ivory Coast players go to sleep tonight, I hope they don't have nightmares, because they probably had nightmares the other night, where after that battering they received from Mali. Kioma Odiaja. I didn't think I would see a team very close to 100 points in this quarter-final. I certainly didn't think I would see such a huge margin. Two from two for Odiaja. And still, the press is relentless. And that took 7 seconds to get the ball over the halfway line. The three-point attempt is unsuccessful in no uncertain terms, and the layup at the other end is very successful. Timeout, Ivory Coast, their third timeout. They're losing this by 60 points. And coach Sam Vincent has not required a timeout in this second half.
Pourquoi le ballon ne circule pas, on arrive en shoot.
It's a quite unusual thing right now that Ivory Coast coming out of the timeout with the new 5 players. It just shows how much coach Simon Guillou is not satisfied with the following of his instructions from that 5.
No need for any criticism really of his players from Coach Simon Guillou. They've been beaten by a much better team on the night. And they're still under pressure. Still being forced to make long, difficult passes. And that's how to beat a press. One might say, why didn't they do that in the first half? But then again, the Nigerian press in the first half was of 4 or 5 times the intensity that it is now. And the rebounding continues for Nigeria. A player landed on the floor. I think the player who rebounded that may have hurt her ankle, but no request for a sub. Last 2 minutes.
It almost seems like we're seeing the same movie all over again, that Nigeria plays a great forward pressing, steals the ball. If Ivory Coast is successful and just beat them, then there is well unorganized offense and rushed shot, and it's all over again.
And a good no foul there, and a layup from Kenny Kuyati. Minute and a half to go. It doesn't matter whether Nigeria make the 100 points. They're going to win by a big margin. 70 seconds remaining. And here go Nigeria again. And there was a deflection by the defense. Well, the Mali fans have arrived. I wonder whether the Mali team have arrived, or the Mali coach, to see who their opponents will be if indeed they beat Egypt in their quarterfinal. The three-pointer makes it 98. So it's a 49-point lead for Nigeria over the Ivory Coast. The massive population of Nigeria will be celebrating 21 million in the capital of Lagos, and no doubt they will be celebrating seeing their team progress to the semi-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. Kuyati there, fouled on the way to the bucket. This is the first. And the Ivory Coast have made 40 points. Differential of about 8 seconds between game and shot clock at the end of the game. The Ivory Coast playing defense till the bitter end. And Nigeria failed to make the 100. That matters not one jot, because they're going to win this game comprehensively. Well, no consolation at all for Fatima Diawara. She hits the last score of the game, a three-pointer, but the final score, Nigeria 98, the Ivory Coast 43. A 55-point margin at the end of the first quarter-final of the FIBA Women's AfroBasket 2017. And the local dignitaries, local fans, applauding a brilliant effort from the team coached by Sam Vincent. That's Nigeria. They have worked very, very hard in this quarter-final, and they've got what they deserve for that work, that hard work. That energy was astonishing at times. 98-43, Nigeria over the Ivory Coast. So they're the stats. Rebounds, well, It was closer than it might have been, but assist 24-11. Just a solitary block to Nigeria, but steals more than 2-1. And turnovers, not quite 2-1, but very close. Great performance, Teresa.
We have seen very promising performance, and I'm pretty sure that some staff from Mali team has been here scouting in today's game, because Nigeria has sent a strong message to Mali that they're not going to have any easy way to get into the finals when they're going to meet them in semi-finals.
Well, we've seen some terrific defensive performance in this tournament so far, notably the Ivory Coast over Cameroon, and Mali over the Ivory Coast, and another one here, Nigeria over the Ivory Coast. So the Ivory Coast involved in 3 fantastic defensive performances, but sadly for them, 2 of them have resulted in big losses. So just to sum up, it is Nigeria who go to the semi-finals. Nigeria have beaten the Ivory Coast 98-43.